How to tell if your hair system is screaming for retirement. Today I'm breaking down 3 key warning signs that it's time for out with the old, in with the new. Plus I'm going to add a bonus red flag for anyone who sticks around till the end of this video. Now we all know that this channel is about getting as long out of your hair system as possible, but that does not mean that your hair system is immortal and it can live on forever. And that's why I've made this video, because I want you to know in no uncertain terms when it's time to get a new hair system. So this is a really old system which I've got out of the cupboard. I wore it quite some time ago, but it's at the end of its life. I actually kept it for this exact purpose, to make this video for you guys. But the first thing to look out for is if you start getting small tears in the base. You can see here that it started tearing around the side. And although this is fixable in the short term, if you get, for instance, a base tape, which is a double-sided tape like this is literally just like putting a plaster on. It's not a cure, it's not a long-term solution. It just buys you more time to sort of get a new system if you're short of a bob or two. It's also much more effective if you've got a tear in the middle of the base somewhere. If it's on the side, it's actually much harder to deal with. So that's the first thing that you should be looking out for. And this is also why I always encourage, especially new wearers, to not go straight for a Swiss lace or an ultra thin skin, because they are a lot more delicate and they require more expertise when it comes to maintenance. Another option you can look at if you do get tears around the side, you can just, if you're very, very careful, you can actually cut with a blade or scissors. You can actually cut these little bits off. The problem is that actually shortens the width of the hair system, and obviously it might expose some balding areas, which is kind of the last thing that you want. Now for reference, this tear appeared basically after about probably over 3 months of use, and it was just a natural process, basically from taping it for 3 months. Naturally over time the integrity of the lace just becomes weaker and weaker, and tears do naturally happen. Now warning sign number 2, and I barely see this discussed in the hair system community, is a buildup of glue which effectively becomes enmeshed within the lace, and you can't remove it for love nor money. Now with this particular system, I tried everything. I put it in boiling water, I soaked it in C22. When it becomes that enmeshed, and you can see it here, you can also see it sort of around the sides where tape has been. Guys, tape does have adhesive in it, and this does over time, over a long period of time, just embed itself to an extent within the lace, and it's very, very difficult to get this stuff out, if nigh on impossible. And this is a sign that it's probably time to get a new system. You usually see these sort of signs appearing after about sort of 3 months of use. It's also dependent on the actual tape that you use. I would imagine, based on past experience, if you use glue instead of tape, this kind of build-up will happen quicker, which is one of the reasons why I tend to prefer using tape on a lace base. Another important thing about this sort of gluey sort of build-up is this can also accumulate bacteria, which is really not that great for your actual skin. And when it does get clogged, it can actually affect the hair on the other side of the base. It can actually cause it to stick together, reducing that natural appearance which you would previously have had with the hair system. Now the third warning sign, and I've put this up against the sun, this isn't too bad on this particular system. I've had it way worse, but it's when hair starts pulling through the actual base itself. Now we've got it in focus. Now, this isn't the end of the world, but over time, this basically causes the hair on the top of your base to become thinner because it's being pulled through the base. So the hair on top appears thinner, but also the hair here starts itching your scalp. So it basically means you're unable to wear the system as long without starting to get irritation. Now, an option here is you can just pull it out, or you can trim it to make it much shorter. But the problem with those two things is that if you trim it really short, it will likely itch your scalp even more. And if you just pull it out, it will effectively weaken the base, but it will also make your hair appear on top even thinner, which is kind of like the last thing that you want. So this is something, as I said, This on its own, this level of hair pulling through is not enough for me to change the base, but it's the other things like the glue build-up. It's also the fact that it's got a tear in the lace, which is the sort of main warning signs for me that this system, it's time to replace it. But if you get, let's say, 2-3 times the amount of this hair coming through, probably time to change that base because it's really uncomfortable. It gets itchy. With the glue build-up as well, there's a build-up of bacteria on the base, so that is really worth considering. Now, a bonus for any of you who have stuck through till the end is looking for shedding, especially at the front. You won't naturally get shedding, to be honest, much at the back. That usually isn't too affected, but naturally, because there's a graduated hairline usually at the front of the system, you do tend to find, and naturally more tape or more glue might be present on the front of the system. When you get shedding sort of like this, you might want to start thinking about getting a new system. Although with lace, it's actually quite hard to detect. It doesn't look as bad when it's on your scalp, but you do notice it's thinner than what it was when you first bought it. And it certainly gets to a point where it becomes so thin that it almost looks like your natural hair on top is actually seriously thinning. So that's something that's really, really worth considering. I usually get it. I usually start noticing it around the sides. So here you can see there's basically no hair on the lace. So around the sides where I style it, so I push it to one side or I push it to the other, that's where sort of hair that's weaved into the actual base is sort of constantly, day after day, put under most pressure. So naturally that hair just starts shedding. So this is really worth looking out for. And if you're still not sure, compare the front with the back and see if there's a real noticeable difference, then it's probably time to start considering getting a new system. Now, I want you guys to ask yourselves, how many warning signs are you seeing on your current hair system right now? Are you seeing one? Are you seeing all of them? What I would say is, if you're just seeing one of those warning signs, I wouldn't say get a new hair system straight away. I would just use that as an indicator that maybe the hair system is coming towards the end of its lifespan. If you've got all three of those, or even if you've got all four of those, you should definitely be looking at getting a hair system within the next week. And if you want to let me know in the comments below as well, which common sign do you usually look at to be like, okay, you know, I've got to the end of this life cycle with this hair system, it's time for another one. It's usually a couple of things that you have to see to convince you that it's time to change. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to like and share it. And if you want to revive your hair system game and learn more about hair loss and other hair loss solutions, you might want to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Next time you see me, I'm going to have a brand new hair system with a scalloped hairline. I'm really interested to see how that looks, and I'm interested to see what you guys make of it too. Until next time, guys, I'll speak to you soon.